Starting live video. What's up, everybody? Pastor Ben here, Survival Guide. We're on week 2 of Survival Guides. I know we're technically probably on week 3 of this whole quarantine, social distancing thing. But this is week 2 of our Survival Guides. Day 1, Monday, in case you've forgotten what day of the week it is. I know I had that trouble last week, just kind of going, man, what day is it? What's going on? As certain things that we usually do every week didn't happen, like Wednesdays and Sundays, things like that. So hopefully you were able to catch Pastor Rick's sermon yesterday morning, as well as the survival guides from last week. They should be still on Facebook, so if you scroll down, you should be able to find them, or click on videos, maybe they maybe pop up that way. And we've tried to upload those on YouTube as well. So if you are interested in that or want to rewatch any of those, please do. We're going to try and be here every day unless something changes, something comes up that stops us from doing that, either myself or Pastor Rick being here 10 a.m. to talk to you guys, share just a little devotional thought for the day, take a little break from whatever your day is filled with, and just spend some time with us. So the only other thing I wanted to say too is if you missed trivia night last night with Pastor Rick and I, we had so much fun. Hopefully you guys did as well. It sounded like some of you guys did. We had almost over 300 comments during that time of people answering questions and talking and all that stuff. That was awesome. We had so much fun with you guys. We look forward to doing some more things like that. Maybe not exactly like that, but some other things like that. Also, the children's message last Wednesday, if you enjoyed that, if you want something similar, make sure to message us, email us, that kind of thing. Let us know that that's something that you would appreciate. And Pastor Rick, I'm sure, would gladly see if Charlie could free up his schedule and come out again, or maybe another character, I don't know. So make sure to let us know. If you enjoy something, let us know by liking and commenting and sharing and those kind of things. But also just let us know directly as well if something is what you're looking for. Yeah. Not too much has changed. Same situation. If you're somebody who's really stuck at home, who's not able to go out and get anything, and you're in need of something, let us know as soon as possible. Let us know whenever. Pastor Rick or myself. We also have some other people in the church who have offered to purchase things or go and get things or deliver things. So if there's something you need, don't hesitate to let us know. We want to help out as much as we can during this time. So contact us as soon as you find yourself in need. I don't know. Other than that, like I said, we're going to continue Survival Guides 10 a.m. every weekday morning, and we'll try and do something fun this weekend again. And yeah, just keep an eye out. We're going to keep things updated and keep talking with you guys and interacting with you guys. Hopefully you're staying sane at home. I know parents, you're probably running out of things to do. Try and get some fresh air when you can. Maybe play some board games. Find some different things to do. Diversify your portfolio a little bit of what you're doing with your day. If you do the same thing every day, all day, you're going to get a little more bored. But if you kind of mix it up a little bit, you should be able to keep yourself a little more sane. So make sure you do that during this week as we get into week 2 or 3, depending on how you look at it. So I want to share with you just a little bit of a message. I actually wrote this a while back. I think it fits. I think it goes along with what we got going on. But in general, it's just something that you can hold on to. I think last week we did a lot of, hey, this is how we can deal with the current situation. I want to share with you a little bit more about just in general, just like, hey, whether we're in this situation or not, things that we can use, things that you can kind of have in your back pocket, put in your equipment, your knowledge that you can use in the future. So one thing I think is clear to everybody is that we have a certain culture, especially in America, but in this world right now, and especially when you look on social media, but even just in general, this culture of kind of this outrage or this if you're on Facebook, obviously you're on Facebook watching me right now, you know that as soon as something comes up, there's 100 different opinions on it, and everyone wants to voice their opinion. They want to make sure that they are heard, and a lot of people are not looking to gain knowledge when they're on Facebook, when they're seeing other people's posts. They're really just trying to express what they think, what they feel. And if somebody says something that you disagree with or that you don't think is true, there's usually a lot of butting heads. There's not a lot of give. There's not a lot of conversation. It's more of telling and then the other person telling back. So it's this culture of selfishness, this culture of self in general. Like I said, whether it's social media or just the world in general, I think we have a culture of self where I'm number one, the world revolves around me, though most of us wouldn't say, oh, I don't think that. It's kind of true with how we act. We think about, well, what if I run out of toilet paper? What if I don't have enough of this? And we don't necessarily think about whether an older person who can't get to the store quickly or somebody who maybe doesn't have a lot of disposable income can't stock up on things and needs to be able to shop. So it's all about us personally. Obviously, these are scary times and difficult times where we want to be prepared, but we also need to take those moments and say, hey, am I overreacting or am I reacting? Am I preparing or am I, doomsday prepping? You know what I mean? There's a fine line there that we need to be careful of and be aware of, because that culture of selfishness is really it's sinful in nature. As we look to ourselves first, look only about ourselves first. And foremost, sometimes we don't even get past that. We're too busy thinking about ourselves to think about anything else or anyone else. And that includes God or other people, other Christians, non-Christians, those who are in need, those who have plenty, all those things. We tend to get stuck thinking about ourselves, and we think, well, we'll think about other people once I take care of me, once I take care of my needs. And that's what the culture teaches us. That's what our culture has taught us. Look out for number one, as long as you're number one, and who cares about everyone else. So it's so important that as Christians, that's not what God is asking us to do, and it's difficult. So I want to give you some concrete options, some examples of ways to counter the culture of self, to counter it. Say, hey, I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to respond to it. Because if we don't have a way of responding to the culture of selfishness, the culture of self, we're going to find ourselves kind of falling into it. We're going to find ourselves participating in it. And we really want to counter it. We want to have a reaction to it and know how to deal with it, not just kind of let it happen around us, let it happen to us. See, I'll admit that these are very difficult because it's going to make you a little weird, all right? I don't want to scare you away. I don't want to surprise you with this, but Christianity makes you weird. Being a Christian makes you weird. You're not going to be like everyone else. Hopefully you're like some other Christians, but the truth is it's going to make you different. And when you look on social media, the way that Christians should act is not really the way that we see a lot of Christians acting on social media. And the way that Christians should act in the world is not how we see a lot of Christians acting in the world. And so it's so important that we accept our role as weird, accept our position as being different and being weird compared to the world. So these things will make you different, and they're difficult because you have to go against sometimes what your heart is telling you, right? Your heart and your mind are telling you, oh man, you got to take care of yourself only or first, and we have to replace that with figuring out what God has said, this is good. These are the things that you need to do. So the first thing I want to come to you with a verse from James chapter 1, verses 19 and 21. You may have heard this before, but it's a great one. James chapter 1, 19 through 21 says, "My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. Therefore, get rid of all moral filth and evil that is so prevalent, and humbly accept the word planted in you, which can save you." See, I want to point out something first and foremost. That first verse, he says, brothers and sisters, take note of this. That means if you have a pen and a paper lying around, take note of this. Write this down is basically what this passage is saying. Write this down. Take note of this very important thing. It's something that you should have in your back pocket, something that should be not just in the back of your mind, but maybe even in the front of your mind at all times. And this is long before social media. This is before media in general for the most part. And he says, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Now, this letter being to Christians, I don't expect the people of the world, those who are non-Christians, those who are non-believers, to abide by this. It's completely understandable that the world is slow to listen, quick to speak, and quick to become angry. That's standard. That's obvious to me that that's going to be the case. But it's important as Christians that we understand that our role and our call and our challenge is to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. So a lot of times we read this verse, right? And we say, quick to listen, slow to speak, got it. I should listen more than I speak, right? People say, hey, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. You should listen twice as much as you speak. But I don't even necessarily think that that's exactly what this verse is saying. That's a good rule of thumb to go by, but I think this verse is saying something a little bit different that we need to really take into account. Because I think it's really easy to speak a lot and then go, well, I'll listen twice as much later. Right? To step up and say, I have something to say right now, say it, and then go, well, I'm ready to listen now. I'll listen twice as much now. Now I know how much I've spoke, so I can then spend twice as much time listening. See, but it doesn't say speak less and listen more. That's not what this passage says. It's not what the verse says. It says to listen quickly and to speak slowly. Now listen, I already know the jokes are coming, because I speak faster than anyone. I'll get up on stage, I do my announcements. I think people started clocking me in, and I got pulled over for speeding because I was talking too fast during announcement. I'm kidding, that's not true. But I know you guys are thinking it's slow to speak. Pastor Ben, you talk way too fast. But this verse isn't talking about the pace at which we speak. Now, honestly, I should slow down so that you guys can actually follow along, that you can hear what I'm saying and really grasp the information that I'm sharing with you. But that's not what this verse is talking about either. So it's not talking about listening more and talking less, and it's not necessarily talking about how fast or slow, the pace at which we do either one of these. See, this verse is talking about the order in which we do things, the timing. How should we time, and in what order should we do these things? Basically, another way of saying this is say, hurry to listen. Hey, hurry up and listen. Quickly listen. Get ready to listen first. Rush to a place so that you can hear first. Get into the comment section, not because you have something to say on social media, but because you want to know what people are saying. I want to hear first. So be quick to listen. The joke is always like, we're going to rush somewhere, we're rushing to wait, right? You want to get to a concert early so you can get in line and wait earlier than other people. Maybe you get in the doors earlier. But that's always this idea of we're rushing to wait somewhere. But what this verse is telling us is that we should rush to listen, that we should get to places early and listen first. Listen quickly and be ready at a drop of a hat to listen. It doesn't say listen fast, quickly. Be quick to listen. What if we, so don't listen more, listen first. What if we entered into a dialogue with people, either in person or online, with the sole goal of listening and only speaking if directly asked to? Now, this is not how our culture works. This is not how social media works. If there's a comment thread, very rarely are they going to go, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Sometimes your friend might tag you and say, hey, what do you think about this? And then you could add that in there. But a lot of times we find ourselves interjecting into conversations and comment threads that have nothing to do with us because we have an opinion. And so we're quick to speak in those situations. And really, I think if we challenged ourselves and contained ourselves in the way to say, I'm only going to speak if I'm asked to speak. If I am asked a question or something is brought to my attention, I'm directly addressed in a situation. It's different. It's completely different from how things really tend to go in the world or on social media. Think about the amount of things that you would hear. Think about the amount of things that you could absorb. Think about the kind of love and respect that you could show someone to just sit and listen to them. And if they never ask you a question, you just keep listening. And they're sharing all these things, and you just keep listening. And you don't interject. Maybe, obviously active listening with some nods and some yeses and responding to what they have to say, but really just being there to listen. in a one-on-one connection time, or in a small group atmosphere, or with your kids, or with your spouse, or with your family, to just listen. And wait until the absolute last moment before you say, hey, maybe I do have something to say in response to that. The truth is, you can gather more information. You'll be able to collect the full story before trying to interject your opinion. One thing that happens on social media all the time is a post will come up with the title of a blog post or a news article, and the title is maybe misleading, but the article says something different. And people quickly see the title of the article and say something about it. See, they're quick to speak, and they're slow to gather that information or to really listen to really what's going on. See, our culture is all about being first. One thing you'll see, if you get in and see a YouTube video really early, right after it's posted, you'll usually see one of the first comments is someone saying, "First, I was here first," because we want to be first. Like, they don't want to think of anything cool to say. They don't have time to think of a thoughtful comment. They just want to say, "First, I was here. I saw it first." See, there's this whole wave of when I was in college, it kind of became popular, this idea of being a hipster who are known for doing things first. I did that before it was cool. I did that you're wearing those hats. I was wearing those hats before it became cool to wear those hats, right? Whatever, that was the thing. See, their whole lives are focused on being ahead of the curve because being first matters in this culture. I did that before you. I was first. I did something first. What if, actually not what if, that is not what God has called us to. He said plainly, the first shall be last. So don't just delay your speech. Consider postponing it indefinitely until absolutely necessary. Until someone says, "Hey, what do you think?" And be prepared to use what you listen to first. Say, "Hey, this is what I heard you say." That's like common, just like courtesy when it comes to conversation, is to say, "Hey, I heard you say this and this and this, and this is my response to it." Make sure the other person knows that they are heard. And sometimes the best way to do that is to not speak. And that's what I think James is telling us here, to be quick to listen and slow to speak. See, one issue in our culture is the swift and immediate outrage that seems to pop up no matter what the issue is. And Christians often find themselves at the forefront, being the most offended, the most upset, and the most angry, claiming their faith and beliefs require them to do so. When the word says, "Be slow to become angry." See, think about that. As these different things have gone on and Christians find themselves the first to say, "Hey, I'm upset about this. I'm angry about this," when the Bible says to be slow to anger. See, Christians are often the most easily triggered. Ready, seemingly at the... All right. Oh, I'm back. I hope I didn't miss anything. Christians are often the most easily triggered, ready seemingly at the drop of a hat to grab their swords, torches, and pitchforks and go to war with anyone and everyone, even other Christians sometimes. See, one thing I've noticed is that the first report of anything is met with the biggest outrage. And each subsequent report, the more the information that comes out, less and less outrage. There's still some people who are mad about it. Some people really hold on to it for the whole time. But that first report tends to be, that's when everyone's really upset. It's in the forefront. It's new. It's fresh. And we need to be upset about it. And that's what we do. We're quick to be upset. What that tells me is that people are getting upset right away. And then it quickly starts to fade away. Even on things that we should be concerned about for a long time, they quickly pass by because we are quick to get angry. We get angry quick. We burn that fuse quickly, and it burns down. And then when we really should have a kind of sustained frustration or disagreement with something, and say, "Hey, I still disagree with this," instead of being even and spread out, we go upset right away, and then it falls off quickly. See, it's so important that Christians are slow to anger and slow to get upset because we need to make sure that we're standing on the truth, standing on what is true, so that as time goes, we continue to stand there. But if we're always rushing, always running to get angry, and we burn our fuse down, we then are losing these battles because we run out of that energy, we run out of that passion for that thing because we were so passionate to start, so upset and so angry at the start. So my question for you is, what if God has called us to respond to things calmly? What if God, and by what if I mean this is what James is telling us, what if God says, hey, listen first, gather all the information. And this is standard. I don't care if you're not a Christian and listen to this, if you know some, this is just good common practice. I'll just let you know. But the Bible gives it to us, which makes it good common practice in the world and for Christians. Gather information. Hear what people have to say. And then after a time, responding in a balanced way, not with anger or outrage, but concern. Hey, I heard this being said, and this is how I see it. This is my perspective on it. Or maybe somebody says, hey, what do you think about it? You can share that with them. What if we responded to a culture that is fueled by anger and outrage with peace and love, understanding and forgiveness? See, that's how God has responded to us. That's what God has offered to us. And that's how we can respond to this world. That in this current state is hurting, is in fear, and is struggling with so many different things. And instead of joining in on the outrage, joining in on the fear and the frustration, what if Christians stepped up and said, hey, I've been listening. I hear you. I agree. I feel that as well. And we could offer them a calm and a peace and a love, understanding and forgiveness that this world simply does not offer outside of Christ. I have a bunch more, but I'm not going to share it today. I think I'll be back Thursday. Pastor Rick will be here the next couple days, 10 a.m. I think Thursday is my next day, and maybe I'll continue this conversation a little bit. But I encourage you as Christians to counter this culture, to counter the culture of self and be willing to be different in this world, to be quick to listen first and foremost, and be slow to speak, to delay your speech and wait until it's absolutely necessary. It's so important that we do this. And as that verse kind of ended, let me read that to you one more time just at the end. Slow to become angry, because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. See, what God wants out of us is his righteousness. Not self-righteousness, I'm doing what is right, I'm right and they're wrong, but instead his righteousness. The righteousness that he desires does not come from anger. And so we need to be slow to become angry, quick to listen, and slow to speak. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Pastor Rick will be sharing with you. Thank you so much. Like, comment, and share as much as you like to. You can be, I'm done speaking now, so hopefully you've been quick to listen, and now I'm opening it up to you. If you have some thoughts that you want to share, please add them in the comments, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.